entire event into Cantonese to ensure that it's as accessible as possible. Today we have the honor of having Fenella C SUNG provide the interpretations. A big thank you to Fenella. Ms. Sung is a certified translator specializing in legal and government fields and a veteran of the Society of the member of the Society of the Translators and Interpreters of BC, where she also served as past president of the board. So thank you, Fenella. We are also joined by two honorary members of the Historical Discrimination Against Chinese People Advisory Group reading with us. And first is Bill Yi. Bill Yi is a lawyer and the first Chinese Canadian elected as a Vancouver City Council member. He was a city councillor from 1982 until 1986. And Bill was appointed as a provincial court judge in 1999 and retired in 2015. Thank you and welcome to Bill. And our second honorary member of the advisory group joining us is Maggie IP. And Maggie was a secondary school teacher and a Vancouver City Councillor between 1993 and 1996. She is also the founding chair of the social service organization Success. Welcome and thank you, Maggie.
大家見到我哋今日成個嘅議會咧，我哋都係會有廣東話嘅翻譯嘅。咁我哋今日為大家翻譯嘅係辛志芬，咁佢係註冊嘅翻譯師，亦都係 BC 省翻譯協會嘅前會長。咁另外，我哋今日嘅道歉文本，我哋亦都請到兩位溫哥華市華裔受歧視歷史諮詢小組嘅名譽成員同我一齊宣讀嘅。第一位係葉黃文先生，余先生係律師，係第一位當選溫市議員嘅華人。佢嘅任期係1982年到1986年。余先生1999年獲委任為省級法官，直到2015年退休。另一位係葉吳美琪女士，葉太係中學教師，1993年至96年出任溫市議員，佢亦都係中僑互助會嘅創會主席。
As Fenella just said, today's apology will be read in English and in the Chinese dialects of Cantonese and Say Up. To honor, Bill gets the honor of doing Say Up. Try. To honor the language spoken in the communities who were most impacted by the discriminatory policies over those dark decades.
我哋今日嘅道歉文本咧係會用英文、廣東話同埋四邑話去宣讀嘅，以紀念當年受歧視政策傷害最深嘅族群佢哋所講嘅方言。
Okay, I will now read the apology, and it's here as well next to me. A copy that will go in at City Hall, just adjacent to Council Chambers. So here is the official apology of the City of Vancouver. The living legacies of the injustices against Chinese people in Vancouver still resonate with us today. They echo in our city, in our collective histories, and in the stories of our elders. After many years of work by community advocates, the Advisory Group on Historical Discrimination Against Chinese People, and City of Vancouver staff in bringing to light the scope of the systemic discrimination, I rise today to acknowledge and address a dark and difficult period of our past.
喺溫哥華歷史中，華裔居民曾面對種種嘅不公義，其影響之深，時至今日仍然係我哋嘅城市、我哋嘅共同歷史，以及長者嘅故事之中引起迴響。社區領袖、歧視華裔居民政策顧問、歷史顧問委員會，以及市政府嘅職員，用咗好多年嘅時間嚟研究呢一種有系統性嘅歧視，並指出其範圍之廣。本人今日喺呢度正式承認，溫哥華市過去一段黑暗同埋艱難嘅歲月，並就此發言。
For the first half of the City of Vancouver's history, racial prejudice and discrimination against our Chinese Canadian residents was commonplace. And yet, for those 60 years, rather than standing up against the injustice of racism, many of our elected officials, including mayors and councillors, use the legal power of the city to enact and expand laws targeting Chinese residents. Through council motions and through the everyday effects of bylaws, licenses, and legalized racism, the Chinese community of Vancouver suffered the awful consequences of lawful discrimination. I rise today as the Mayor of Vancouver to recognize and to take responsibility for the suffering and indignity endured because of this historical injustice. The depth and breadth of the actions for which we apologize today are deep. From the first moments of our incorporation as a city on April the 6th, 1886, Vancouver took away the legal right for the Chinese community to vote. The minutes of the first council meeting had the following, and I quote, "No Chinaman or Indian shall be entitled to vote in any municipal election for the election of a mayor or alderman," unquote. Full voting rights, a cornerstone of our democracy, were not granted to Chinese Canadians in Vancouver until 1949. The City of Vancouver lobbied the federal government to pass racially discriminatory immigration policies, including the Chinese Immigration Act of 1923, which formally excluded Chinese people from immigrating to Canada. For the next 25 years, fewer than 100 Chinese immigrants were legally allowed to enter Canada, splintering families and creating unspeakable suffering within Vancouver's Chinese community. Through its contracts and grants, the City of Vancouver excluded people of Chinese heritage from being employed by the city or by those doing business with the city. No Chinese person was employed by the City of Vancouver until 1952. Numerous measures were taken to segregate the areas where Chinese residents were able to live and earn a livelihood. City bylaws restricted where Chinese people could own and run businesses. Housing covenants were used to prohibit Chinese residents from purchasing property. Although these clauses are no longer legally enforceable, many remain even today on legal titles, a reminder of how racial segregation in housing and business shaped our city's neighborhoods and communities.
在本市前半段嘅歷史中，華裔居民受到種族偏見及歧視比比皆是。然而在該60多年中，許多我哋嘅官選民選嘅官員，包括市長及市議員等，不但沒有發聲反對由種族主義造成嘅不公義，而且反而利用市政府嘅法定權力去制定及擴充針對華人嘅歧視性嘅法例。因此，市議會這些動議以及透過附例、牌照等嘅執法權力，令種族歧視政策喺法制保護下日益猖獗，使華裔居民蒙受極大嘅傷害。今日我以溫哥華市長嘅身份發言，就過往嘅不公義對華裔居民造成嘅苦難以及喪失嘅尊嚴表示歉意和承擔責任。今日我哋必須為此而道歉嘅歧視行為，影響既深又廣。溫哥華喺1886年4月6日正式建市後，隨即剝奪了華人嘅合法投票權。華人或印第安人均沒有資格喺任何市選中投票選出市長或市議員。華裔居民直至到1949年先至獲得被視為民主基石嘅全面投票權。雲市府遊說聯邦政府透過充滿種族歧視嘅移民政策，包括於1923年所通過嘅排華法，正式將華人拒於加國以外。在隨後嘅25年間，獲准合法進入加國嘅華裔移民不足100人。此舉除咗拆散無數家庭之外，亦為溫哥華嘅華裔社群帶來無法形容嘅痛苦。溫哥華市政府透過合約同埋撥款， 令華裔居民無法受雇於市府或其他與市府有生意往來嘅人士。呢個情況一直延至到1952年才首次有華人受雇於市府。市府採取咗各種措施，將華裔居民能夠居住及謀生嘅地方加以隔離。市府嘅附例亦規定咗華人只可以喺某些地方擁有及經營生意。房屋契約亦被用嚟禁制華裔居民購買房地產。雖然這些規條今日已經不能再合法執行，但不少類似嘅條文仍然可以喺地契上揾到。呢個就係提醒咗我哋，居住及經營方面嘅種族隔離政策對本市整體社群造成咗多深遠嘅影響。
The elected officials of the City of Vancouver use their role as leaders to sow the seeds of intolerance that embolden individuals and groups to act upon anti-Asian discrimination, whether by explicitly encouraging anti-Chinese sentiments or by silently allowing racial hatred and violence to continue. Too many of our predecessors stood by rather than stood up to racism. I rise today to recognize and repudiate such acts that stigmatize and dehumanize the Chinese Canadian community of Vancouver. I rise today to formally apologize to the Chinese community of Vancouver and to all Canadians of Chinese ancestry for the discriminatory legislation directed against Chinese people in Vancouver by its elected officials and civil servants from 1886 until 1949. On this day, on behalf of City Council and the City of Vancouver, I sincerely apologize for these past injustices and their cruel effects on individuals and their families, and commit to ensuring that similar unjust practices are never again allowed to fall on any group or community.利用佢哋作為領袖嘅身份，散播其歧視嘅種子，令其他個人同埋族群更加明目張膽嚟到提倡或者進行反亞裔嘅種族歧視行為。無論係公開鼓勵反華情緒或種族仇恨同埋暴力保持緘默，我哋有太多嘅前任民選官員對於種族主義只係視若無睹，而唔係發聲加以譴責。本人今日承認此等行為侮辱同埋鄙視溫哥華華裔社群，我亦都發言反對呢啲行為。就溫市嘅民選官員同埋公務員喺1886年至到1949年之間所制定嘅針對本市華裔居民嘅歧視法例，本人今日向溫哥華嘅華裔社群同埋所有華裔加拿大人正式道歉，對呢啲曾經因為合法歧視蒙受過苦難嘅華裔居民同埋家庭，本人今日謹代表市議會同埋市府誠懇表達歉意，並致力確保類似嘅不公義行徑永遠唔會發生在任何一個族群或者社群身上。 I rise today to acknowledge the darkness and suffering that anti-Chinese policies and legislation caused, and to vow that never again will Mayor and Council stand aside in the face of racism. We will stand up to those who would use racial discrimination to divide us, and we vow each and every day to challenge and combat intolerance, and to be vigilant against the rise of prejudice and discrimination. This is our responsibility in the light of our dark history. This we owe today and tomorrow to those who suffered the effects of the legalized discrimination of yesterday. This debt of shame incurred in our past, we pay forward so that no citizen of Vancouver will ever suffer again the indignity of racism and prejudice.
安然見面，承認安寧嘅排華語政策和法例所遏制嘅嚴硬而成功。我哋列晒時將而是意願，我愛簡明期為種族歧視是永遠唔代換，吊銷旁觀。另外，輕線會抗嚟喺企業用種族歧視來判隔外，因並列晒每日為慶都為歧視行為展開挑戰和對抗，以及時刻經非而防止偏見而歧視對象。由於這案黑暗嘅歷史，我要義務愛起這光明正大嘅責任，我今日、明日及未來，污該為嚟過去承受合法歧視影響嘅承擔責任，亦同時亦對呢條這啲過去所欠嘅笑肉嘅債落出行動，才可以再換古話對面，永遠唔再見種族歧視和歧視而笑活用。
Today, Vancouver is a diverse city with a global reputation for celebrating our cultural differences. Our city's reputation is not merely symbolic. It lives each day in the deeds of individual citizens and civic employees who treat their fellow citizens, including our newest arrivals, with respect and acceptance. The City of Vancouver owes much to the Chinese community and to all immigrant communities. Along with our First Nations and urban Indigenous communities, many have unfairly had to struggle to overcome racism and discrimination, and through their actions have made our city more just and fair. The struggle to make Vancouver an inclusive, resilient, and vibrant city will continue. We recognize that even during the darkest days of racial discrimination and prejudice, there were those, many of those, who were brave enough to stand up against injustice. Through such everyday acts of firmness and resolve, our city has become a better place and will continue to become a better place for all of our citizens. Let us all rise in defense of the principles of equity, inclusion, and equal access for which we stand today and in all the days to come.
今日嘅溫哥華係個多元嘅城市，我哋以擁護多元文化而譽滿全球。我哋得此名聲並非只是象徵性嘅，多元文化活喺每一個市民同埋每一名奉行平等同埋公平原則嘅市府職員，喺每日嘅日常生活之中，佢哋以尊重同埋接納嘅態度對待包括新移民在內嘅大眾市民。溫哥華市對華裔社群同埋其他移民族群有所虧欠，佢哋同埋原住民族同埋都市嘅原住民社群一樣，不少都要經歷一番掙扎，先至能夠戰勝種族主義同埋歧視。因為佢哋嘅抗爭行動，使得我哋嘅社會 更加公平公義。我哋將持續努力，將溫哥華發展成一個包容、堅韌同埋充滿動力嘅城市。我哋知道喺種族歧視同埋偏見充斥最黑暗嘅歲月入邊，仍然有人勇敢挺身對抗不公不義。當人民以每天嘅行動展示出堅持同埋決心嘅時候，我哋嘅城市就會變成一個更美好嘅地方，而且持續不斷變好，以致造福所有居民。讓我哋一齊起立，致力維護公平、包容同埋獲得平等服務嘅原則。我哋今日維護，將來同樣推崇。